I'm Jeremy. Today's day 201 of reading. Today we're reading Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Let's get started. What? They said, pretending to look curious. Beaky, he escaped. He's free. Been celebrating all night. That's wonderful, said Hermione, giving Ron a reproving look because he looked as though he was close to laughing. Yeah, can't have tied him up properly, said Hagrid, gazing happily out over the grounds. I was worried this morning, thought he might have met Professor Lupin on the grounds. But Lupin says he never ate anything last night. What? Said Harry quickly. Blimey, haven't you heard? Said Hagrid, his smile fading a little. He lowered his voice, even though there was nobody in sight. Snape told all the Slytherins this morning. That everyone know by now. Lupin's a werewolf, see? And he was loose on the grounds last night. He's packing now, of course. He's packing? Said Harry, alarmed. Why? Leaving, isn't he? Said Hagrid, looking surprised that Harry had to ask. Resigned first thing this morning. Says he can't risk it happening again. Harry scrambled to his feet. I'm going to see him, he said to Ron and Hermione. But if he's resigned, doesn't sound like there's anything we can do. I don't care. I still want to see him. I'll meet you back here. Lupin's office door was open. He had already packed most of his things. The Grindylows empty tank stood next to his battered old suitcase, which was open and nearly full. Lupin was bending over something on his desk, and looked up only when Harry knocked on the door. I saw you coming, said Lupin, smiling. He pointed to the parchment he had been poring over. It was the Marauders' map. I just saw Hagrid, said Harry, and he said you resigned. It's not true, is it? I'm afraid it is, said Lupin. He started opening his desk drawers and taking out the contents. Why? Said Harry. The Ministry of Magic don't think you were helping Cyrus, do they? Lupin crossed to the door and closed it behind Harry. No, Dumbledore managed to convince Fudge that I was trying to save your lives. He sighed, and that was the final straw for Severus. I think the loss of the Order of Merlin hit him hard. So he accidentally let slip that I am a werewolf this morning at breakfast. You're not leaving just because of that, said Harry. Lupin smiled wryly. This time tomorrow, the owls will start arriving from parents. They will not want a werewolf teaching their children. Harry, and after last night, I see their point. I could have bitten any of you. That must never happen again. And the best defense against dark arts teacher we've ever had, said Harry. Don't go. Lupin shook his head and didn't speak. He carried on emptying his drawers. Then, while Harry was trying to think of a good argument to make him stay, Lupin said, From what the headmaster told me this morning, you saved a lot of lives last night. Harry, if I'm proud of anything I've done this year, it's how much you've learned. Tell me about your Patronus. How do you know about that? Said Harry, distracted. What else could have driven the Dementors back? Harry told Lupin what had happened. Then he'd finish. When he'd finished, Lupin was smiling again. Yes, your father was always a stag when he transformed, he said. You guessed right. That's why we call him Prongs. Lupin threw his last few books into his case, closed the desk drawers, and turned to look at Harry. Here, I brought this from the Shrieking Shack last night, he said, handing Harry back the invisibility cloak. And he hesitated, then held out the Marauders' map. 2. I am no longer your teacher, so I don't feel guilty about giving you back this as well. It's no use to me, and I dare say you, Ron, and Hermione will find uses for it. Harry took the map and grinned. You told me Moony, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs would have wanted to lure me out of school. You said they'd have thought it was funny. And so we would have, said Lupin, now reaching down to close his case. I have no hesitation in saying that would have been highly disappointed if his son had never found any of these secret passages out of the castle. There was a knock on the door. Harry hastily shoved the Marauder's map and the invisibility cloak into his pocket. It was Professor Dumbledore. He didn't look surprised to see Harry there. "Your carriage is at the gates, Remus," he said. "Thank you, Headmaster." Lupin picked up his old suitcase and the empty Grindylow tank. "Well, goodbye, Harry," he said, smiling. "It has been a real pleasure teaching you. I feel sure we'll meet again sometime. Headmaster, there's no need to see me to the gates. I can manage." Harry had the impression that Lupin wanted to leave as quickly as possible. "Goodbye, then, Remus," said Dumbledore sourly. Lupin shifted the Grindylow tank slightly so that he and Dumbledore could shake hands. Then, with a final nod to Harry and a swift smile, Lupin left the office. Harry sat down in his vacated chair, staring glumly at the floor. He heard the door close and looked up. Dumbledore was still there. "Why so miserable, Harry?" he said quietly. "You should be very proud of yourself after last night." "It didn't make any difference," said Harry bitterly. "Pettigrew got away." "Didn't make any difference?" said Dumbledore quietly. "It made all the difference in the world. Harry, you helped uncover the truth. You saved an innocent man from a terrible fate." Terrible. Something stirred in Harry's memory, great and more terrible than ever before. Professor Trelawney's prediction. Professor Dumbledore, yesterday, when I was having my divination exam, Professor Trelawney went very, very strange. "Indeed?" said Dumbledore. Stranger than usual, you mean?" "Yes. Her voice went all deep and her eyes rolled, and she said Voldemort's servant was going to set out to return to him before midnight. She said the servant would help him come back to power." Harry stared up at Dumbledore, and then she sort of became normal again, and she couldn't remember anything she said. Was she making a real prediction? Dumbledore looked mildly impressed. "Do you know, Harry, I think she might have been," he said thoughtfully. "Who'd have thought it? That brings her total of real predictions up to 2. I should offer her a pay raise." But Harry looked at him, aghast. How could Dumbledore take this so calmly? "But I stopped Sirius and Professor Lupin from killing Pettigrew. That makes it my fault if Voldemort comes back." "It does not," said Dumbledore quietly. "Has your experience with the Time Turner taught you anything, Harry? The consequences of our actions are always so complicated, so diverse, that predicting the future is a very difficult business indeed. Professor Trelawney, bless her, is living proof of that. You did a very noble thing in saving Pettigrew's life. But if he helps Voldemort back to power, Pettigrew owes his life to you. You have sent Voldemort a deputy who is in your debt. When one wizard saves another wizard's life, it creates a certain bond between them. And I'm much mistaken if Voldemort wants his servant in the depth of Harry Potter." "I don't want a connection with Pettigrew," said Harry. "He betrayed my parents." "This is magic at its deepest, its most impenetrable, Harry, but trust me, the time may come when you will be very glad you saved Pettigrew's life." Harry couldn't imagine when that would be. Dumbledore looked as though he knew what Harry was thinking. "I knew your father very well, both at Hogwarts and later, Harry," he said gently. "He would have saved Pettigrew too. I'm sure of it." Harry looked up at him. Dumbledore wouldn't laugh. He could tell Dumbledore. "I thought it was my dad who conjured my patroness. When I saw myself across the lake, I thought I was seeing him." "An easy mistake to make," said Dumbledore softly. "I expect you're tired of hearing it, but you do look extraordinarily like James, except for the eyes. You have your mother's eyes." Harry shook his head. "It was stupid, thinking it was him," he muttered. I knew he was dead." "You think the dead we loved ever truly leave us? You think